Good, Willie. You're back now. We want to start. Actually, we are live on YouTube and on YouTube and on Facebook. Now, for those who are joining us right now, and more so, we want to thank our panelists today. Today is day 2 of Kenya Photo Week 2021, and this is the first session of the day. We have another session in the evening at 8:30 where we're going to be discussing matters PAK Part 2. So Brenda Mulama, karibu sana. Okaka Felix, karibu sana. And Willie, karibu sana as you join us on the move. So for those who are joining us, welcome. This session is about wedding photography, and we have experienced hands, minds, and bodies in the 3 panelists that we have today. And we are going to have 2 short presentations by Brenda and Okaka Felix. And we will start with Brenda, who is going to be talking to us about the soft skills that we need. That means the other side of wedding photography. That is not just about your camera and your equipment, but there's another very important side that you need as you get into wedding photography. So for those who are curious about, perhaps they have been following the work by some of these top wedding photographers that we have in our community of photographers in Kenya, it cannot get better than this. So I want to just give you a brief introduction of Brenda. I think most of you know Brenda, and anakuanga very active kule kwa social, which is something that she has learned, and she has gone online to acquire skills about digital marketing. The other thing some of you may not know is that Brenda Mulama is an ex-high school teacher. Sijui kwa nini aliacha kufundisha, but guess what? Here she is still teaching and sharing knowledge. And also, I think I saw in your bio, Brenda, that when you left teaching high school, you did a little bit of writing. I want to believe perhaps it was online writing and those kind of things. And then you got fee for the past several years. And I believe most of the work that we have seen from your portfolio is wedding photography, but I guess you have also got your hand into documentary photography and a little bit of family and portraiture. So without much ado, I think you have around 20, 25, ikienda sana 30 minutes, Brenda. So take away, I think uwanja ni wako sasa.
Thank you, Steven. Thank you, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity. When Steve told me to prepare a lesson plan, I had to visit my teaching knowledge and pull a lesson plan very fast. That is something I can do without thinking a lot. So I'll be talking about being the only lady in the panel. I'll touch the softer parts. Then the others will come with the technical bits. Having been a photographer for a while, I noticed it's not all about cameras. It's not all about ISO, shutter speed, and aperture. There is another very important element, which is communication. So what is communication and how does it come in photography? To begin with, communication is not just exchanging words or expressions. It is about attitude, about knowledge, about feeling. You can communicate how you feel without even words. That is why we come in with photos. So when you communicate your attitude, your knowledge, or how you feel to maybe one other person or a group of people, that in itself is communication. So other than communicating in photos, as photographers, we have to communicate in so many other ways, which we have to be aware and conscious of all the time. So I reflected our photography journey and narrowed down to 4 types of communications we do often. That is number 1, you have to communicate with yourself. As a wedding photographer, you really have to have that, you have to know yourself. What can you do? What can you not do? What are your limits, etc. Number 2, you have to communicate with your team. You have to be a team leader, and you have to know your team very well. So communication is not all about just you. but there is that element of communication within a team. Uh, Thirdly, you have to communicate with clients. So there is an element of, it is not about you now or about your team, but now there are other known and unknown people. And lastly, there is now the execution. What does your photos say? So I'll look at those four elements of communication within wedding photography: communication with self, communication with your team, communicating with your clients, and finally, how you execute communication now. What does your photos or videos or what does your content say? Mona Maker, the last point, before you get to your photos, you have to deal with the other forms of communication. So we'll start with how do you communicate with yourself? Because real success starts with you. You cannot have a good business, or you cannot communicate with other people very well when you cannot communicate with yourself. You really have to communicate well with yourself to be able to communicate with other people. You have to be able to manage your emotions, to be able to, you have to keep good watch of yourself, to communicate inaanza na wewe mwenyewe. So maybe the first question you should ask yourself as a photographer is, what are your paradigms? A good example to understand paradigms, considering that I know most people in the panel right now are photographers, how do you know your lenses? Unajua ukichukua 24 uko na wide, ukichukua 35 uko na wide, ukichukua 70 to 200 you can zoom in. You really have to understand yourself from those different lenses as a person. What is your world view? What lens are you at a particular time? Ukishikwa wapi utajam, and at what point how much can you stretch, how much can you cut down? So you really have to understand how you look at the world, what works for you, what doesn't work for you. That one you really have to know yourself very well. After knowing yourself, now think about your business. What is your strategy? Wewe unamkanga tu naenda kushoot, ama uko na formula? Do you have target? Do you have uko team? Tena kupanga tu na kila kitu. If there is something that your team player can do and you have other things that you have to do, let them handle that well as you concentrate on other things. The next point on communication with yourself, we have a limit to how much time and money you are willing and able to invest. Wewe unaamkanga tu unafikiria as in how much time is all your time for the business. For the family, people like myself, you have to think about time with your children, time with your spouse, time with your parents, time to network, or time for your other businesses. So huwezi kuwa tu haujui how much time you're putting into this. You really have to know per day, how much time can you put into marketing? How much time do you take to return emails? How long do you take to edit? How do you want to take your photos and frame them properly so that you take less time in editing? So the moment you think about the amount of time you are willing to put in, you think about other elements that make up, that come later. For instance, in my part, I prefer shooting clean photos, like clean, so that I have very little editing to do, rather than just shooting shagala bagala and take 2 weeks, 3 weeks editing. So the moment you think about the amount of time you are willing to invest, you plan, you become intentional, Next, do you have a budget for your business? Do you depend on borrowing to pay your team players? Can the business run by itself? Can it pay everyone you work with? Or are you borrowing left, right, and center that you cannot even drink juice somewhere in peace? No. So before you borrow money to put into your business, think, unataka D5? Think, can your business afford that? Can the business return that? You want a new lens. Can the business buy for itself, or you have to borrow? So borrowing is something that you really have to plan, to think, and know how you'll pay back. So usinini tu, usiende tu unaomba bila plan. But before you borrow money, really think about it. Uh, Next, what is your definition of success? You shoot wedding. Shoot everywhere. Shoot beach. Shoot park. I think we are some of the people who travel the most because you get to shoot in a lot of locations. Is that your definition of success? Ama, you have finally built the house you wanted. You have the car you wanted, your dream car. Your children are in the school that you want them to be. Is that your definition of success? You must really have clear definition. As we work every day, ukifika wapi ndio utaona umefika. You have achieved what you wanted. You can't just be shooting without knowing where you are going. You must have a map. Penye ukifika as a person una feel uko satisfied. So don't just go shooting without knowing what is your end goal. Think about the end products. And lastly, structure your goal. Huwezi achieve kila kitu, hata kama ni nyumba, ni progressive. Huwezi achieve kila kitu mara moja. So you really have to have a good structure. No, hii wedding naenda leo, naenda kufanya nini? Do you know the couple? What are you going for? What is the goal for that wedding? As a business, what do you get? Or are you just shooting and forgetting about it? So you really have to structure your goals and know exactly where you are and what you are going for. So I reflected on myself and I thought maybe those are some of the questions I asked myself as a wedding photographer even before I get out of my house, or even before I hold my camera. That is a conversation I have at a personal level. Then, having been in the wedding industry, you cannot shoot alone. You need a team. Like for us, our company, we do photos and videos. That means you must work within a team. What is a team? Umekutana na nani pale Nation Center wanaona wengi morning. That is a team. A person that you can come together and work together. People that you can go for an assignment with. Do you shoot with different people every weekend, or do you have a team? So teaming, people you work together with, especially progressively. So after you have a team, there is teamwork. Teamwork is being able to work together, unity. Ni ule watu mtakutana kila mtu amenuna, you are not even able to work or communicate. When you go looking at the data, you find you are all over everyone's data. So you must have unity, and you must know how to work together as a team. I have a picture of our team there. We have quite a big team at a water. You can see everyone looks comfortable, So you really must. It just shows that team is a group of people working together, purposing to achieve set goals. So what are the elements that make a team work together, or how do we come up with a team? As a team leader for our company, number one is hiring right. For me, every time I pick someone to work with, I look at the attitude. You can change many other things about a person, but attitude ni kitu ilianza kitambo, ilianza kitu grow. There are people who just have a bad attitude. When someone has a bad attitude, there is very little you can do about it. For me, I hire attitude, the right attitude. Can we sit together and talk? Can we share ideas? Can we brainstorm? Can we work together? Can we form a team? So attitude is everything to me. Then the moment you have the team together, you have to communicate your vision. Everyone has a vision. I hope to believe so. Everyone has a vision, be it in business or in life or what. This is your business. You have a vision. You have to be very crystal clear about the end. Remember ulika peke yako kwa mkutano ukajiuliza, what is your definition of success? The next thing is, how do you get there? How to get there, number one, you have to share that vision with your team. Because for you to reach there, you really need to work together. No. So share your vision clearly. Ile nyoli ulijiambia, or that vision of success. No, share it. Share it. Let the team be united. Next, for a team to relate effectively, you must learn to listen. As a team leader, wewe ni ule tu vitu vinafanyika hivi na ni hivi, ama you can sit down and talk and listen and share ideas from other people. Believe you me, from listening you can learn a lot. Listening not only to your team players, but even your children at home, or your peers, or any other person. By listening, you learn a lot. So you really have to learn to listen, and listen carefully, and know what you can borrow and incorporate in the vision, so that it is a team vision. It is not your vision anymore. Make it a team vision. Then remember, always as a team leader, leadership comes before management. You cannot micromanage a team. You must become a leader before you become a manager. Kuna vitu that you communicate, maybe when you're relaxing by yourself, try to Google, you revive the difference between leadership and management. Management may be like things are running on the ground, but before we get to management, there is the leadership aspect. What are your values as a team? So you really must become a leader before you become a manager, to be able to work within a team and hold the team together successfully. Next, remember kila mtu anakuanga na, hakuna mtu perfect, even me or anyone. Everyone has a weakness. So looking at team players' weaknesses with compassion is very important. What you do as a team leader, just know how to cover that, maybe with the strength from another team leader. So just because someone has done a mistake or anakuanga na weakness fulani hivi, una capitalize on that and bring them down. I try to tell myself I want to be this person who builds, not someone who brings everyone down. So look at others' weaknesses with compassion, and build each other. Then remember, team players learn from one another. At least within our team, that is what we do. Mtu atenda huko try kitu work out. So introduce ideas, share them, communicate within a team, understand each other. Don't be selfish. Ati julienda ukalan skill mpya umejiekea. So learn to communicate with everyone within the team. Then teams can have healthy competition. For example, we have two gimbal, can I call them drivers? I can share no, hey, round in nani alifanya hii, can you try it out? No. So you build each other. Competition can be very healthy, and you build each other. And they'll ask, ama ndakutana na Eric aniambie, Job alikuwa ananiuliza maswali mob, kwani ulimwambia? Nilimwambia hivi na hivi. So you guys zona vile mtasaidiana. Having healthy competition within a team makes the entire team grow. And lastly, teamwork promotes strong working relationships. The moment you are a team, you work together, and then you go home and you feel happy. You feel enyewe, we have been working and everyone is happy about it. You feel that bond and you all deliver well. It is a connected team. So at the end of the day, kila mtu ata deliver part yake vizuri. So far we have touched on communication from a personal level and communication within a team. So number 3 element of communication is communicating with the client. So ulijiongelesha ukajua vision yako, You have shared your vision with your team. Now you have a working team. Now we are going to the markets. We are going to clients now. So how do you break the ice? How do you communicate with your clients? How do you get the business you want or get to the market you want? So again, I reflected on how I do it, and the points are purely from my experiences. So number one, you have to know who is your client. Remember, every wedding is unique. Huwezi sema ati juu na kila wiki najua harusi. Hakuna kitu kama hiyo. It will never come. It will never be. Every wedding iko tu na element yake. So every day be open to learn. Enda ukijua unaenda harusi, pia mimi najua harusi. So remember, always every wedding is unique. To know your client. Who is your client? Who is your target market? What do they like? What do they read? Where do they hang out? What do you say and what do you not say? So you really have to know your client very well. Kama ni, for example, client has, some of my clients, I know, like the way the client have spoken to about an hour ago, I know she has 2 children. At least I can talk, hey, how are you? How are the children? How are you? No? Fanya taka background check. You know, nowadays there are so many ways you can know someone. Know your clients, know how to go about it. Secondly, when you talk, you go for the clients, how you are communicating to this client, get the basic crystal clear. You know, like greetings. Huwezi fika tu mahali na umeanza kuongea. No, those the formality, you know, salimia mtu properly, at least anaendelea aje, planning inakupeleka aje, you know, someone ana feel like comfortable. Then again, getting the basics crystal clear means you have not sealed a deal until you have signed that contract and you have that money in the bank. So always don't forget that this is a business you're running and you have the structures. So always have the basic structures of a business clear and follow them to the latter. Formality is your friend. Formality is your friend. You know, formality is socialization, our social culture. How does your social culture work and how does it work with your clientele? So you really have to understand what is formal for your clients, what works for your clients, and go for that. Then, what kind of a person are you? Kuna ule mtu mwenye, ama you'll go for a meeting, mtu atakwambia, hey, I just called you and I felt like I know you a long time and I had to book and this meeting and we have to find a way to work together. Are you that person who makes the connection? When you're talking to someone, do you aspire to make the connection? You know, when you make that connection, someone will feel very comfortable with you and they'll open up and will get to their space and it will be easy to work together, and even feeling the deal becomes very important. So be a person that connects. Si ule tu mtu nakwanga tu plastic. You are a person at the end of the day. You have emotions. You are a person, you know, those elements of a human being, and your client is a person. So connect from a person level, a personal level, person-to-person communication. So be this person that connects with your client. Next, be very realistic with your expectations. Usiwe mtu una promise too much what you cannot deliver. That makes me wonder these people who share other person's work, because that one, it is beyond your expectation already. Be within your expectation. Don't blow up alafu day ya kudeliver inakuwa shida. So ensure that you are in control of the conversation. Unajua kwenye mumefika, what you can deliver, what you cannot deliver, and such. Next, budget. Umeenda kwa hii meeting na clients. What is the budget? What are you targeting? What can you work within? Ama you are this person who can work with anything, whatever you are given on the table works out. So you must really know the budgets you can work with and what you cannot work with, and communicate that clearly to the client. If it cannot work, it is always okay to say no. You don't have to take every job. Then don't string the client along. Stringing the client along ile kuwestia mtu time. Umeenda meeting, at the end of the day hakuna kitu umesema. Respect your time and the time of your clients. When you are communicating, have as much as possible within the frame, so that you have communicated clearly everything that works for you.
Yeah.
Next,
Brenda? Time is moving very fast for us. We are 30 minutes down, so I think we can add 5 minutes for your presentation.
Sure, I have
please carry on.
Go for the last bit.
Just carry on.
Communication in execution. Ulishajiongelesha, ukaongea na team players, umeongea na clients, wedding imefika. What do you do? So number one, way to bring out emotion, you have to develop a rapport. Lazima client feel comfortable na wewe. Otherwise, if the client is not comfortable, there is no way ata open up. Then remember, a wedding is an emotional affair. You want to get emotion. You want to get the rawness. So you must really connect with the client, create a rapport with them, and really get to know them. B, make the moment happen. Like, next slide. Utaona hapo umeleta our couple hapa pamoja, umeleta family together. This is a moment you create, and it is a picture they will love. This is a private wedding. People who are there know each other. So sometimes you really have to encourage them and create moments. Second last, you must anticipate moments. When you have been a wedding photographer long enough, you know kuna moment lazima happen. For instance, after kuunganishwa, kuna kuombewa. Ama kama watu wanakuanga wa church sana, hapo kwa church watapraise sana, wataomba sana, you know? Ama hiyo time after I do, watalia. So you really have to anticipate moment and know moment fulani inakuja. Unajua vile wedding za FDA zinakuanga, unajua vile wedding ya Katoi inakuanga, unajua vile Protestant wedding zinakuanga. So the moment umejua hiyo flow ya wedding, it is very easy to anticipate what is coming next. Lastly, get close and go wide. Huwezi kuwa tu unapata close-ups only and wide only. There is a photographer in the 1940s who said, if your photographs aren't good enough, you are not close enough. Kuna konga tu na kakitu na close-up. So ensure you have close-ups, and you also have wide photos. My parting shots. We have a very great networking ground. Imagine hizo wedding zote zenye wao na shoot, the people you meet, the places you go to. How much can you widen your network? So my approach right now is network. I'm not only there to shoot your wedding, but I'm there to get into your circle, to get to know you, to add value to your life as you add value to mine, way beyond the wedding. Thank you very much.
Asante sana, Brenda. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that very insightful moment. And I think those of us who are following on Facebook and you who will get a chance to watch later have had a very good opportunity to see some of those different perspectives. I think what you have given us is a different perspective that is seldom considered. And what happens is that we have to as photographers, as wedding photographers, we have to carefully think how to become more and more competitive, how to become more and more relevant in what we do. And that way, you find that it's possible to grow our skill, it's possible to become better at what we do, and that way we'll have more output and more effectiveness. So I would want to ask that those who are following online to just hold on with any questions and comments until much later, when we have had all the presentations by the three speakers. Those of us who are following, I know there's a number of people who are following online. Erastus Karanja on Facebook. I can see unauliza kama Willy ana drive. Inaweza kuwa ukweli ana drive, lakini yako hapa. We have Lucy Kamau, we have Squid ako na jina ngumu, lakini wacha tumuite Squid. We have Samia Kamali, I think he was from TZ, he was also following yesterday. Just some of the people who are following us online, tumeshukuru sana for joining us. So without taking much time, we still have at least 1 more hour in what we are dealing with. So I want to hand over to Okaka Felix. Uwanja utakuwa ni wako. And just for those of you who may not know Okaka Felix, Okaka has, in the photography space since 2012, and he says that he is a student. Hata sai watu wanakuita pro, lakini wewe unasema ni student. But I like the attitude that you have, that you bring in this space, that you're always learning at any 5, 10, 15 years. There's always something that you learn. So the approach that Okaka is going to take in his presentation is random questions to a wedding photographer. So those of you who are watching, if you aspire to be a serious wedding photographer, or consider yourself a serious wedding photographer, I believe Okaka has got some questions for you that are going to help you improve your craft. I think, Okaka, you have your presentation, so you'll share it from your side, right? You will share it from your side. Sawa. Okay, uwanja ni wako. You have around 20-25 minutes. Take it away. Thank you.
Sharing screen is disabled. Okay. I've had that introduction, and I'm feeling kama pasi introduced Sunday. Trying to be humble and all. Otherwise, my name is Okaka Felix. I love shooting weddings and portraits. That's my bread and butter. I also shoot humanitarian work, though I rarely post online. But I shoot a lot of humanitarian work behind the scenes. For this purpose, for today, we are doing wedding photography. I think by now shot almost 100. And could be. It's possible, possibly 100 or so weddings since 2012. I remember the first wedding I shot was on November 24th, 2012. And that is directly related to the question I'm going to ask you right now. I remember the first wedding I shot was on November 24, 2012. My camera was a week old then, and a pal of mine was having their wedding. So I decided, I've never shot a wedding before. So I asked the couple to be, I think they have, so I asked to be a photographer of the event. Weirdly enough, I'd never shot any wedding. I didn't even know how to control any of the settings. I didn't even know how to put auto mode, literally. I was struggling because the camera was absolutely new. But now that brought me to the question of, where is your portfolio? After shooting that wedding without any pressure, because I was behind the scenes, my friend didn't expect any photos from me, so I had zero pressure. But I got a chance to develop a portfolio. Actually developed a portfolio from that one wedding. And when I met the next client actually thought I've been shooting weddings, but that was the only wedding I'd shot. I'd guessed my way all through. And I remember seeing the photos being featured on Samantha Bridal. Photo. So, the first question I will ask you is, as a photographer, can I see your portfolio? Can I see your work? Is your work accessible? How many weddings? You need to shoot several weddings under your belt if you want a client to entrust you with a wedding. I know, yeah, nowadays people have 2 or 3, people get divorces, and you might probably shoot somebody's second wedding. But chances are most of the time you meet somebody on their first wedding. So this is a very important day to them. How do you show confidence? How do you prove to your clients that you can handle the pressure of shooting an entire wedding to their satisfaction? So rewind back, to develop my portfolio, I needed to learn a lot about photography. 2 weeks before the wedding, Beba Lights. I was actually called to Beba Lights by some random photographer who I didn't know. But since I was idle, I was new in Nairobi, I decided, let me go and accompany this guy. Turned out the photographer was Osborne Mashari. So behind the scenes, I got my first taste of how photography, lighting is done. Because I could observe, I had no idea what the hell he was doing, but I remember I could see somebody at the back holding a rim light. So I remembered holding one light in front and another light behind. And this is how I got to develop my portfolio. So make sure you watch enough tutorials. Make sure you can work with a model. You can work with a bridal company. You can work with a bridal magazine, offer pro bono services to shoot. Because what will happen after this is you'll be able to shoot without any pressure. You'll be able to create art that can convince yourself with something to show the client. And how accessible is their portfolio? Like how accessible? I remember so many times to be in a situation where I do have the portfolio, my wedding portfolio with me. Now that's one of the mistakes people make, because if you want to win over a client, you need to have access to your work to show a client, this is my work, this is how I shot somebody and somebody's wedding, this is how I shoot. It gives you a chance to start developing that early relationship with your clients. Yes? So actually have an online portfolio, very important. Actually, even on my side, I stopped having a physical portfolio. Currently, the only portfolio I have is the previous client's products. That's what I use for portfolio. Because I know at any one particular time, I have a wedding, I have several books pending that I'm supposed to deliver to other clients. So what do? This is my portfolio. This is the physical portfolio I show a client. Secondly, I want you to also know that what you sell to your client, you have to identify what exactly are you selling to the client. For example, the only thing I confidently sell to my client is my work. Not even the photo books, not the mounts. I would say, for example, photo books, I know my supplier, I have a different supplier for photo books, I have a different supplier for mounts. That is those people's work. But now I strive to convince the client that what I give them, this soft copy work that I give them, is perfect for any recreation. If somebody wants to mount, if somebody wants to print a photo book, I will deliver excellent work so that you won't even bother who does the final printing for you. But the good thing is, eventually, most of the clients love convenience. We love convenience. So a client will look for you when they want to print a photo book, when they want to print, to do the mounts with you. So the only thing that you're selling to the client is your actual skill. But now you have to figure out how to sell that skill to a client. You have to show them, this is the work I have done. I pose this way, I do ABCD. Thirdly, do your potential clients think about you? Take, for example, if you are inactive on social media currently, you get swallowed by the noise. There's so much noise on social media currently. If I post, what will make someone look at my photos on Instagram instead of going to Edgar Barre's timeline to see what is hot out there? So you see, the things you're competing with are very distracting, things that distract people out there. And social media is created in such a way that they want to keep you interested in scrolling to the next person. So what matters is, do you have images that can make a client pause and start looking at your work? Do you post as often enough till your client anakuona hapo? When they open Instagram stories, you are the first person on their Instagram story. Hata kama hataona, you make sure you're the first person there, you're the first person on their WhatsApp stories, you're the first person on their Insta story, and you make sure you're always there, because we are competing with a lot of noise. So what happens is, if you just do one post a day, people forget about it. People forget. Then the other thing, I've always had this issue where I market my work. Every time I market my work, you will notice it's during downtime, during the down season, when we don't have a lot of work during the season. I post a lot of my work. Then what happens? We get to peak season. I start editing a lot of work, so I have a lot of work to do. Then you notice there's a gap in between the high season and low season where you have no work. Between the gap between two high seasons, you find you have no work. Why? Because you posted, then somewhere along the way you stopped posting. So you get these questions like, Okaka, bado unafanyanga photography? Like, I hate being asked that question, because that means it's been so long since you posted, mpaka they've forgotten that you are a photographer, which is very tragic in this industry. So make sure your portfolio is very visible. I will share with you I will share with you this presentation. I'll post a link through PAK, and anyone else who would want the link to the presentation, I will share it with you. Secondly, I've titled this section, "Who are you? What are you? Who the hell do you think you are?" The reason why I named it like that, I kept thinking about this unbogable. So this is, think about how Gidi Gidi Maji Maji introduced themselves to the Kenyan industry. That's when you notice that branding is a very essential part of photography business. Because I'm assuming you're in photography business, you're not doing photography for fun. Wedding photography is not for fun. It's never for fun, because people will kill you. I remember I read a story last week where a photographer was fined $25,000 for not delivering wedding work. So I'm assuming you're a wedding business photographer. So branding is very essential in your business because branding is the first interaction a client has with you. When I go to your timeline, what do I see? Do I know that you're a photographer? Do you post about photography things? Do you do you how do you place yourself on social media? Are you a brand name? Uh, how do you package yourself? Do you have logos? Do you have websites? How do you package your deliverables? Is it in a memorable packaging? I remember, for example, I think all of you, if you get a chance, go and look at Encarta watches and how Encarta watches deliver products to their clients. You will notice how you package yourself, how you package your products will determine how people perceive you. So that might be the difference between you being a high-end photographer, a mid-end photographer, a low-end photographer. It's all dependent on image. It's all we're in an industry where image is everything. You have to present a certain image. It's all a game of faking it, in quotes, faking it till you make it. So I'll give you, for example, the times I post my work on social media, clients have this assumption that I have a lot of work coming. I have a lot of work. So what happens in the psychology of the clients? They start believing that they are the only ones not having their pictures taken. So they decide, I also want to do a shoot. That is what happens in the psyche of our clients. So we have to make sure that we are there. We are constantly reminding clients that we are here. Just picture this. If Coca-Cola are still marketing in this time and era, if Safaricom, with all the profits they are making, are still marketing every day, when you walk, you see Safaricom, and you hear trended to Kiuke. There's a reason why they do that. When you see Safaricom green, you always think about when, like, for example, when I shoot a farmer in the middle of their maize plantation or something, you find when you show somebody mtu anakwambia, hey, this looks like hii inaweza kuwa picha ya Safaricom. Yani, that is how guys have that is how much Safaricom have branded themselves to us. Maka, there's a quality of imagery that where immediately you see, you start saying, I want photos. This photo looks like a Safaricom photo. This photo looks like a Coca-Cola photo. So in terms of branding, we need to speak. Your branding is that little guy sitting on your client's shoulder telling them, I want you to shoot with Willy Muturi. I want you to shoot with Willy Muturi. And I love the fact that when you look online, you'll find somebody commenting on Brenda Mulama's photo, telling them, I don't even have a husband, but I know in 5 years, you're the one who will shoot my wedding, because you are starting to make these connections way before you meet these people. So how you brand yourselves to them will determine how much work you get. I love what Willy does with his stories. He does a lot of pictorial representations of images of how person A met person B. What happens is when a client sees that, they are seeing themselves through those photos and believing, I need to do this. Yeah. Aside from that, how does your brand name affect your business? We know that photography, in photography, you can either name yourself after something like Brenda Mulama Photography, Willy Muturi Photography, or call yourselves versatile photographers. How does that affect your brand? Because you'll find if I'm Okaka Felix Photography, it's very hard for me to call another person to shoot on my behalf, because somebody will believe, as long as I'm not getting Okaka Felix, I'm being short-changed. So what is your brand name? The third party name issue you should consider is what type of wedding photographer are you? That is why I've introduced the shooting styles of Willie Muturi and the writing style of Brenda. There's a way Brenda Mulama writes about her work that you feel you really want to have this. You really want to have this person to shoot your photos. So, what type of wedding photographer are you? For example, natural light photographers. When I tell you a natural light photographer, I'm sure in your head you can think somebody like Mwaniki with, because you know automatically he's a natural light photographer. Photojournalistic wedding photography. Brenda Mulama loves that. Natural wedding photography. Do you tell stories to your photos? So what type of wedding photographer are you? You should also consider what is your unique value proposition. What differentiates you from person B? If my work is good, if Osborne Masharia's work is good, if somebody else's work is good, why will they choose me over him or person A over person B? So you need to have a unique value proposition and set yourself apart. A very important aspect to also consider is who is in your squad. Who is in your squad in terms of who is your second photographer. Very important. Always say, behind every amazing photographer is another amazing photographer. And there's no way you'll have an amazing portfolio if you don't have a second photographer who shoots either a different style from yours, so that he or she makes your portfolio more wholesome. Do you want someone who shoots a similar style to yours? What is the skill level of that assistant photographer? Because you want somebody who boosts your portfolio, either somebody at your level or somebody higher than you as your second shooter, because it improves your portfolio. What equipment do you have? What equipment does he have? Does she have? If I have a 24-70, then my second shooter has a 70 to 200. We have covered all focal lengths within a wedding. So, well, that is also very pertinent. Have you talked to have you brainstormed how you will cover this event? When a bride is walking down the aisle, who will shoot the bride at the entrance? Who will shoot the bride in front at the altar? Who will shoot the expression your groom as the bride walks down the aisle? Then you should also consider who your client is. Who are they? Are they photogenic? Are they conservative? So that you know how do you direct your couple. You ensure that you meet your client beforehand. Even possibly do a free shoot for them, so that you know how can I direct these people, because you're trying to make somebody feel comfortable. It will be very hard to make someone feel very comfortable with you if it's the first time they're meeting you, is during their wedding photo session. It's the first time you start asking the bride by the night. Yeah. You should also find out why your client chose you. Why did your client choose you? Alikuona from a pool of photographers. Is it because you are cheaper? Is it because you have high quality ABCD? Is it because he encountered your work through somebody else? Get to know that, because it gives you a lot more information about your client. As I close up, I'll talk about packages. Packages, you need to offer clients different packages for photography. I know during COVID, most of our packages have been run over because we've had to cede a lot of ground with pricing, considering the economic situation at the moment. But the things you should consider when offering a package to your client is, what is your minimum price to execute a job? How much do you need to execute a job? Soft copy images first. That should be your basis. How much are you worth? If I have you shooting my event for 3 hours, how much do I charge you? Secondly, how many personnel do you need to execute that job? You also need a happy team for you to execute a job well. Like in my team, I know some of the characters, if you don't give them lunch after reception, it becomes a very tricky affair. You have to ensure people are food, people are taken care of for them to operate at optimum. Figure out, do you outsource a service? If somebody asks you, we want a drone, drone shot of sijui nini, how much will it cost you to outsource that gig if you don't offer that service? Also consider things like after sales service. I've seen people offering baby bump shoots for clients for free as part of a package for a wedding. And Akwambia, next year when you get a baby, I will shoot that for free. So those are the things you need to consider. Another very pertinent issue is contracts. Ensure you have contracts. I'm trying to rush through because of time. Ensure you have a contract with your client. Most of us, the first time we actually had to use a contract, we had to effect a contract was during COVID. Because I had a wedding, I was paid a deposit on Thursday for a wedding I was supposed to shoot on Saturday. Then the president announced that the country is going on lockdown. So what happened? That's when I had to look back at what does my contract say? What does my contract say about acts of God? Do I refund the client? So those are the things you need to consider. A contract will cover you when things go awry. When things go bad, that's when a contract will come in effect. So make sure you have a contract. It could be your friend, somebody you're willing to lender the contract about. You don't need to sign at your friend. But trust me, especially if it's your friend, it is the most important thing to ever do is ensure you have a contract with the client, which would specify how you use the photos, delivery timelines, what happens when you can't deliver the images, what happens when a client cancels the event, things like that. Also consider backup. I remember somebody in my circle once upon a time lost the photos of the wedding year client. So they were forced to start screenshotting images as a videograph. And a screenshot you send, you screenshot you save. But now these are things that you should consider. Always have backup. Why do you back up? You back up because this is a life and death scenario. It's somebody's wedding. Unless they are getting remarried, it's their first wedding, it's one of the most important days of their lives. When do you back up? Immediately after a wedding. Immediately. You shouldn't even leave the venue if you haven't backed up the images. How do you back up? You either put it on physical backup, you ensure you have it online. That includes the raw images. Where do you back up? Cloud alternatives that are there, like in a OneDrive, Google Drive, get a paid account. Have spaces where you can save all these photos. Hata kama you want to save the edited JPEGs. Because I've had clients who have called me 5 years later to by the way, nataka photo book. So 5 years later, they want a photo book. If you don't have, your pesa enough for fair. So those are things you should consider having a backup. Final thing, what else can you consider? How much do you owe the government? Because right now, KRA wanatafuta watu. So have your papers in order. If you want to run a successful wedding photography business, make sure you're right with KRA. And I will conclude it. So in case anyone has any questions, we'll have a question and answer later. So let me push the program back to Stephen.
Okay, asante sana, Opaka. Thank you for those wonderful insights. For those who are following, we're going to be sharing that presentation, as you had a presentation. I can see Willie amepata network. Willie umepata network?
Yes.
Uko juu ya mti mahali. Even your shirt can show us that uko juu ya mti. Unaona hiyo? Brenda, unaona shati ya Willie? Brenda, you are muted. What are you saying? Brenda, you are on mute.
Imekuwa cloudy, imekuwa white.
Oh. Okay, Willie, thank you very much, Okaka. Before we bring in Willie, kuna swali tutarudia. Nilisikia ukisema that you cannot shoot weddings for fun. Nilikuwa naona kama nikishoot weddings nilikuwa na enjoy, but we will come back to that point. Asante sana. A lot of issues that you have talked about. So the third session, we are going to have Willie Muturi share some of his insights, perhaps with a little focus on some of the latest trends that are happening for weddings. So Willie, uwanja ni wako. Na utajiintroduce kwa those people who are watching. Welcome, and the next several minutes are yours. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for having me. My name is Willie Muturi. I shoot weddings. I love weddings. I enjoy weddings and the food. So, wedding food. So, I'm glad to be sharing a few things, and there I might not have a very detailed presentation, but some of what I will say will kind of support what Brenda and Okaka have spoken about. Hopefully we shall learn together. Please prepare as many questions as possible to ask me. I'm happy to answer. Speaking for about 4 minutes, so I hope I'll be able to share as much information as possible in that time. So number one, yesterday I was with a friend photographer of mine, and she was telling me she's struggling with editing, and I know we've spoken about this many times in other forums, but it is indeed true. As guys, we hate editing. Even I myself hate editing. If you check my photos, I do very minimal editing, very minimal, and some of them I post them even with a few mistakes here and there, but they're things only I would do. And by the time I'm posting a photo, for me, if it makes me happy and it makes my client happy, it doesn't matter what other photographers think. It doesn't matter if I use too much light or too little. At your softbox, ungetumia sijui gani, and if I'm happy with it, I'll post it. As long as I have consent from my client, because every photo I post, I have consent. We struggle with editing. For us, we click a lot. In a normal wedding, we end up with about and all of them. I only remove what is, for example, ladies done with their brass straps. You remove photos. There are times when you click and light height worker or overexposure when you're doing set pieces. But the rest, even if they're duplicates, you're overworking yourself. No client will ever come back to you and tell you and complain, and they tell you, these are too many. Now you see, now we paid you only this much. Now you gave us too much, and you spend 3 days trying to remove photos so that you can fulfill. In your contract it says 1,000 photos, so you shot 2,000. You spend too much time trying to remove the 1,000, which client will wouldn't have much. So I don't. I give as much as possible. What you can't do, please get someone who can do it for you. Editors, the same way when you wanted to become a photographer, ulikuwa unataka kuwa the best nini, ulikuwa una grow. Please know there are other editors who want to become the best editors nini, and you're denying them this opportunity to become that, to be relevant to your business. So try and get help instead of spending so much time. And by the way, with wedding, you get bored with wedding photos real quick, especially if you're the one who shot them. If you take more than 1 day to work on them, they start becoming boring. You start getting tired. There's always that kind of, there's always that kind of song in it. Stop editing. Get someone who will help you. there are times when there are many times, I know all of you have experienced this. When you're doing a presentation with a client anakwambia, hey, my sister or so and so did a wedding, and up to date, our hawajai pata picha. Photographer, stop doing that. You're making us look bad. However, you're also making us look good, because those of us who deliver, we look like heroes, and we're just doing our job. You get it, you're just lazy, or you're feeling, or you're just getting bored to edit. That's why I'm insisting get someone to fit it. And then a lot of people talk about the stories that I do and why I decide to do that and how I come up with them. Basically, I love writing. I love writing, and I love writing in my own language. The way I speak, the way I caption my photos, it should be like. Learn to enjoy the things, learn what it is about the wedding photography you enjoy. For example, me, I enjoy, it's like a social experiment. I enjoy seeing how maybe Brenda and another one goes Miraruka, then the next minute Anaka, I love that. And I think all of us should find what it is about wedding photography that you enjoy most. Because yes, you're here, you have to treat it as a business, because we cannot be out here shooting for free. However, you must, and I'm hoping there's not too much wind where I am. I hope you guys can hear me. Okay, and Brenda, I can see you nod so that I know whether, okay, we are good there. So yeah, learn what it is you enjoy, and then capitalize on that. And then learn it is what it is your best at. There are people who are I know friends of mine who are very good with speaking to clients, but shooting, they know that's their weakness. Or they're very good with shooting and they're very poor with maybe doing meetings with clients, explaining. Learn where your strengths are, and then what you can't do, find someone who can do it better than you, and then move forward from there. Another thing, I only had 3 points. Another thing is the finance piece. Photographers have a what do I call it? Tabia. You make a lot of money at once, and then you live like a rockstar, and then when there are no jobs, or you want to save and buy a lens 200, you want to spend 230K on a lens, you cannot afford to get one. Get your for any business to survive, you must have some kind of a financial partnership with whichever institution it is. It may be a bank, or a SACCO, or a chama, or a merry-go-round. Basically, don't think that for you to grow, you'll only be getting out the money from the client and then investing back. Be bankers, what do we call it? What's your credit? How what are you credit-wise? Right now, if I told you, give me 100K, can you get it? If I told you, give me 30K, can you get it? Where can you get it from? If it is a SACCO, if it is your bank, where can you shikanisha 200K at once? If you lost the equipment, you may be azote. Are you able to buy like a full set of camera and the lens to keep your business going? Start saving, and many, like I said, many institutions have their own ways. People have their for banking. People have, SACCOs. You're just paying something a month. Make sure you get yourself a financial institution that works for you. New trends coming up in the newer weddings. Weddings are becoming smaller, and the smaller weddings are the ones that now clients want more, because you spend more time with them. Tempo used to spend about like there's a wedding I shot recently. I'm so used to working under pressure that I like it when I get to the session and I'm told no hakuna time, tuko na 30 minutes. I feel so good because I know 30 minutes, I know what I will do within 30 minutes. The ones that is a struggle is when you get to the session venue and you're told you have 2 hours. and you're wondering 2 hours. 2 hours utafanya nini? That's too much. Too much. But you know you can't tell your client it's too much. But in your mind you're like, that's too much. Like, we don't need all that. So I enjoy working under pressure. So now it's when I'm coming out of my comfort zone, because now you're finding, yes, you have the 1 hour, but there's a wedding I shot recently. They don't have bridal party. They have a bridal party of just a couple and the church couple. So poses. You guys do know how to pose people? What are the challenges? Do you know how to pose? There are situations where even maybe the groom is shorter than the bride. I know guys struggle with that and you wonder how to have all these things in mind. Do research when you find a taller bride, what to do, how do you, because there are those who are easy. You tell them, because you cannot tell like a groom, you cannot tell him, kanyaga mawe, actually kuletea mawe ukanyage, so that you kiss her forehead. You should be able to know what's physically possible and what's physically not. And it goes even for baby photos, because I shoot babies for my clients. Study how babies behave from year 1, year 2. Your client saw a baby amejiuma mguu on your Instagram, alafu their child is like 1 month, and then client anakwambia, no, I want ile picha mtoto amejishika mguu amejiuma. Did you know it's not physically possible at that age? You know, at 5 months, what can the baby do? Can the baby anaweza lala na mgongo? And especially men photographers, hapa mnahitaji usaidizi sana. Do you know if mtoto anaweza lala na tumbo at a certain age, kama anaweza inua mgongo? These are things that assist you. So do your research prior. Another thing I wanted to speak about, the last item is I think I've brushed through pretty much everything that I had prepared. Brenda and Okaka have almost exhausted my points, because I had 8 and then I'm skipping. So yeah, the rate I'm hoping I've completed my 4 minutes. I've exhausted my 4 minutes.
Actually, I think you've taken like 12. That is no. I believe the people who are listening and will follow later on will get to hear something. And I think you have given us some good insights. We've talked about Mbesha money. Money as creatives, we need to learn to take care of our money. We need to be very careful how we handle money. You've talked about circles, you've talked about chamas, you've talked about bank being creditworthy, perhaps kupitisha pesa yako kwa bank ndio next time you go there for a loan or an overdraft, at least they can give you some money. And then even giving us the insights about weddings becoming smaller and more intimate. Pia kuna hiyo story ya knowing what is possible. I have seen Okaka una mute ujue when you're doing pictures what is practically possible. You know, sometimes we have couples where one of the partner may be plus size. Huwezi enda kuambia mtu amshike ati put your hands around your partner, na huyo mtu unaambia put rounds that partner the plus size, mkono hata haitashikana, you know. So ujuzi yako, and I think that's what also Brenda was talking about, even the emotional intelligence part, to know what to deal with. One of our friend photographers was telling me the other day, in fact he was telling me shoot haikuisha, the couple walikosana. It was a studio shoot iliisha katikati, wakakosana, bibi akaflip and she walked away. And they are things of life, and we must know how to deal with them, both the good and the bad, capturing the moments like it was in the presentation for Brenda. So thank you very much, Willie. Let me jump to Facebook and see if there are. Brenda, I'll shoot the first question to you. It's from a very ardent follower, Samia Kemali, who's asking, I have always preferred being the second photographer at weddings. Any comments that you may have about second photographers? Although I want to state here that we have a session, I think it's on Friday, the evening one, is dedicated to second shooters. So that will be one of the evening sessions. But you can give your initial comments. Let's start with Brenda. He's saying he's always preferred being the second photographer. Huyu ni yule anataka umpatie 10 dhao yake, umpatie 20, whatever you pay your second shooters, 30. Yeye aende akafurahi, wewe ubaki hapo working on your albums and all that. What do you have to say? Let's start with you, Brenda.
Okay, from the business perspective, I'll touch on the personality. We have, not everyone is a lawyer and not everyone can be employed. So it is very important to know where you belong and where you thrive. Not everyone has excellent people skills. Not everyone can manage a situation like you have given an example on, where the couple are disagreeing. You need far much more skill than knowing your camera to deal with that. So it's a good thing to know your preference. In the actual shooting, my rule or my motto to everyone is always shoot like you are the only photographer. At now you are the second photographer, you'll shoot like this. It is a team. You have to know. Maybe I have 70 to 200. I have to communicate with the other person to have a wide. So it is teamwork. And in one sentence, always shoot like you're the only photographer. Thank you.
Okaka?
Actually love being a second shooter. Wow. I love being a second shooter, but I don't get enough chances to shoot as a second shooter. But as I always say, synergy matters. How we work together. Like the people I've partnered with, I partner with very specific people in the industry, and they seem to complement my style. So there are even other weddings where I go as the main shooter, but somewhere along the way we decide, we're second shooter, and we know exactly what that means to us, because I know how person A shoots. It's okay being a second shooter, but don't get too comfortable. One day, one time, we might actually need to be the main shooter.
Willie, your comments about second shooter?
I think for me, I'd rather you look at it as there was only one photographer. You're just the other half. The other one is the half. So rather than so just know that whatever you're shooting, shoot it because the other person could not shoot it. So if you're shooting deco because if the first shooter couldn't be there and you are there, look at yourself as the one unit, and you're just playing the role of the other half. But like Okaka said, learn how to sometimes put yourself in the front line, because some of the skills the first shooter which people struggle with is things like crowd control. You've gotten to a photo station and it's chaos. People shoot hii, kuna ile picha niliona to shoot hii, alafu another person tell you wewe hujashoot kila mtu peke yake, alafu another person tell you wewe ni shoot hii na bwana yangu, shoot hii kwanza alafu ndio shoot hiyo. Learn how to take charge, how to take control. So while you do enjoy being a second shooter, just know that you do not always be second. There will be one time when someone will be your second.
So, Willie, before you go, there's one question from a gentleman called Monene Mweti Boniface on Facebook, who's anasema ati, Willie Muturi, I love your job. Can I join you for a while? Maybe. I don't know if you know Monene Mweti, but anasema anataka kujoin Maybe we give him your email address and he can send a CV.
I give him my number. Tell him to WhatsApp me after this. My number is on the page.
Okay.
Kama haogopi tai. Tuonane Saturday.
Sawa. Thank you very much for that. I see a question and I'll take it back to Okaka again from Facebook. How do you determine charges? And maybe you can talk from the perspective of, we'll start with Okaka, then we'll come to Brenda, and then we'll finish with Willie. Because we have the whole price range. Tunajua from our photography community, kuna watu wanacharge weddings 40,000, kuna watu wa 70, wa 100, 150, 200, so ine, so tatu. So maybe briefly, again, we have a session on pricing your work, which will be broader than weddings, one of these evening chats we have. But then Juju too, Okaka, respond to Mr. Munene Mweti Boniface. How do you determine charges? You only decide, Aje. How did you arrive at that?
As David Masharia once told me, charge according to shida zako. Charge according to your problem. So, unaangalia in terms of, I always say, figure out your expenses. Yes? Once you figure out your expenses and you're able to cater for your expenses, which include labor, hiring of equipment, your time, editing, hizo vitu zote. Hizo expenses, Uber, chakula. Once you figure that out, alafu sasa ongeza profit. How much profit do you want to make? Basically that's it, and that's how I think about it when I price every other event. Expenses first. Once expenses are catered for, I wake a markup and you have your quotation. Sasa hizi zote ziko determined by how you feel. Unaona saka hiyo profit, ni mimi nasema, mimi bana nataka kupeleka watoto kianda school. Sasa itakuwa aje? Yeah? So yeah, it's up to you.
Interesting. Shida zako ni kupeleka watoto kianda school. Haya. Mulama.
Okay, for my formula, my personal formula, if you are making anything less than 25% profit, the camera and Oshagol. You cannot be making less than 25% profit in any business and you are in business. It has to be at least on the lower side, 25%, ukienda. Yes, so that is for me.
Okay. Willie, I know Masharia is part of your teaching system. You are one more from the versatile School of Photography and School of Business. So what can you add other than kucharge according to your problems? What do you have to tell the gentleman who asked about how do you come up with the price thing for your work?
I see. Firstly, you will never be paid what you... Someone told me, I can't remember when, I think it's Terito or someone else. You'll never be paid what you... You'll never be paid what you deserve. You'll always be paid what you bargained for. When you shoot, have you ever shot an event? You've shot so much, and then when you think about how much you've been paid for that event, and these one are the types the client will tell you, it needs 1 hour to 30 minutes to... And then the event goes for 6 hours, then it's chaotic. So what you bargain for is what you'll be paid for. Number two, how do you determine, like for example, while some people's packages during COVID doesn't actually mine, I took it higher. But also I've had the same prices for almost 4 years, 4.5 years. You'll get even people are telling you. The market itself will start telling you, hey, when you send quotation, people are like, hey, I thought nilikuwa nafikiria when it's expensive. Kumbe hata it's something we can work with nini. That's when you know at least you're doing good. Also, the reaction could be the opposite. You're not getting any jobs. Everyone is complaining the same thing. Right back off. Wewe unafikiria wewe ni mnoma sana. You want to charge $500,000 and say, me just be shooting one a year and then I'm good. Alafu upati hata hiyo moja. work on the price. The market is telling you something. So unaenda ukipandisha based on, and it has a lot also to do with branding. Eh? The way you brand and you notice Safaricom, what Safaricom has is the most expensive network, but still kila mtu akona line ya Safaricom ndio inakuanga sim 1, everything else is sim 2, because they are branding and vile wamejiweka, yani for them pricing wamejiprice vizuri.
Thank you very much, Willie. Thank you for those comments. I think we are now in the last moments of this session. As I give the three of you a few moments to think about the question that has been asked. How do you value your equipment as you price your work? As in percentages, how do you value the equipment you have bought? Kama uko na equipment ya nusu mita, uko na equipment ya 1 million, how do you use it as percentages? How do you use it to determine the value of work? But before I do that, as I let you guys think about that question, I just want to throw in a few comments as we head to the last few moments. Also prepare your closing remarks in 60 seconds. I think I just want to emphasize also, as somebody who was doing wedding photography some years back, mimi nilitorokea, lakini I have done a few weddings for friends recently, just because they insisted that I have to shoot, and they're also my good friends, so sio kuwa forced. Hapo ndio mimi na Okaka tulikuwa tunapart ways, because I think I enjoy shooting weddings.
As we focus on what happens today, always think about the future. What do you have? Where do you want to be in 20 years? If you not be there in 20 years, well, what legacy would you have left with the people you love, the people you... Because it's very easy to be absorbed in our work, but just find out what is important to you and work towards it, like there's no tomorrow. But plan as if there's always tomorrow.
Okay. Willie, had you given your closing remarks?
For me, I would like to say we need to get, and this is support also what Felix has said, we need to think about what to do with our life beyond photography. Is there any other thing that you're good at that you can use now your photography skills to move on to your next life? Right now, Willie Muturi is very good with weddings. I can wake up at 4, shoot up to 8, the following day wake up at 4. But what happens when I'm at maybe 6 years and I have a 24-year-old bride who wants me to be there in the house by 4:30? What it is do you have inside you that you can offer? And your skills, can you grow them into something else? Can you are you thinking of moving into teaching photography, or now selling equipment, or getting into the advertising industry, or being an actor now that you've been shooting, you're good with cameras or shooting films, being a director where you don't even have to touch a camera? What more can you become in future? So that's for everyone to think about. Alafu come up with something. Think of something that how you can add value to yourself and still be relevant in the future. For example, I want to do many other things. Yeah. So yes, I'm not shooting forever. While I'm enjoying, I intend to stop at some point and concentrate on other things which are less physical energy intensive.
Great.
Of sort of a short story.
Yes.
I know I can be quite a storyteller. About a month ago, my mom was unwell, and she came to Nairobi. My mom stayed in the village for treatment. So we women, as always, we run to those mama groups. I'm a mom of 3, so I'm in a lot of women groups and chama. Now, nani ako na connection Kijabe? I want my mom to see a specialist. So one of my friends tell me, Brenda, how about the couple we went with to Amboseli? we had gone to Amboseli in January, and I thought it's a good chance to do an engagement shoot. So I'd tagged along a couple who are getting married. So I remember, this couple, both of them are doctors in Kijabe. You know, that one changed my perspective a great deal. In the spaces that we are in, how much do we network? Just like that, I realized I not only have 2 contacts in Kijabe, but 7 from the weddings we had shot. We had shot a lot of doctor weddings. You can imagine they didn't deliver, ama mulimaliza vibaya, ama something happened. Making right, knowing your client, knowing how you can add value to them and them adding value to you is very important in the space that we are in. We meet everyone. Today you are hanging out with Baba. Don't just shoot the whole day. At the end of the day, have time to network. The other job that I'm getting right now, other than photography, as I get into my retirement plan, academia and development world, are all coming from the wedding clients we had. So network right, make connections, and connect with these people. Don't just shoot and let it go.
Great. Asanteni sana. It's now 12 minutes past 4. Brenda Lama, asante sana for taking your time to prepare for this session. Okaka Felix, asante sana for taking your time. Will Muturi on the go, asante sana for sharing your knowledge, your wisdom, your insights, your experiences. We do not take it lightly as a PAK community to take your time during Kenya Photo Week and share this knowledge that your guys we can always count on. And I think we are going to be sharing more. We want to encourage people to stick around as we go on with Kenya Photo Week. We have another session in the evening from 8:30 where we'll be discussing the welfare of PAK, because many of us, PAK has not been at its best in the past 1-2 years, and perhaps we need more community engagement so that we can take it back to its better, glorious days. So I'm encouraging those of you who are listening to take time and join us then. In the meantime, Okaka, Willie, and Brenda Mulama, asanteni sana. Those who are watching us, we have come to the end of the session. You can take your break and go do other things. Hopefully we meet in the evening. Thank you very much, everybody, and goodbye.